Alright, I'm about 11 days late to this one, but when digging around on YouTube, I only found a couple of people who have even talked about it at all, and of those people, some of them appear to be taking it just a little bit too seriously. I'm not saying it's been factually proven to be false as of yet, but I thought the entire thing required a bit of a different mindset because on the one hand, Blizzard really has been hit with a tsunami of outrage lately, and the brand might be irreparably tainted at this point because of it, but on the other, rebranding the entire company and canceling major sequel projects, that's not a leak that you can amplify without proper skepticism. For a bit of context, Blizzard has been absolutely gutted in the past month or so by a series of allegations, revelations, and accusations about sexual harassment, worker mistreatment, inappropriate conduct, nepotism, and a whole bunch more that has shaken the company to its very foundation. The active development for World of Warcraft has been temporarily paused. The company has had a protest walkout of sorts. The CEO, J. Allen Brack, has stepped down. There's been a response by parent company Activision Blizzard announcing an outside law firm partnership, and that blew up in their face too because they picked someone they had already worked with and who has a history of union busting as well as anti-worker strike efforts, which makes them pretty suspect in terms of relative objectivity. Want more? Okay. There was an open letter condemning the corporate response to these allegations and lawsuits, keep that in mind. The whole thing centers on an action being brought by the state of California. This is not a twit-longer cancellation, it's actually real. But anyways, there was an open letter condemning the company's response, signed by something like 4,000 current and former staff. Still not done. Major sponsors, such as the US Army or Astro Gaming even, pulled out of the OWL and CDL, Overwatch League and Call of Duty League respectively, which puts their entire current future in jeopardy as a function of tournament entry and sponsor revenue. Serious allegations about protecting guilty parties, about preserving an abusive culture, and more have all come to light, and it really is a situation where once there is blood in the water, the sharks begin to swarm. That level of scrutiny for any company at all brings out good things, it brings out bad things, and sometimes it brings out fake things. In a forum post on MMO Champion, a source that some are even calling an ex-employee, despite zero proof to that end, has posted a lengthy set of paragraphs which detail a number of internal Blizzard action items. The important bits are as follows. For starters, Blizzard is being dissolved in 2022 and will become a new studio called Insight. Most employees will be fired, paving the way for a new structure, and the parent company will also rebrand to Activision Insight instead of Activision Blizzard. Next, Diablo 4 will have 3 expansions. The original Diablo is getting a complete remake, and Diablo as a franchise is one of their best earners and main focus games going forward. Diablo Immortal will go to phones, then PC with a port afterwards. An untitled Diablo PvP game will be worked on, and the Diablo team would be relatively unaffected by the rebrand itself. After that, it reads that Warcraft will enter maintenance mode and stop being a priority. No more development except to push out what exists already for their next major expansion and wash their hands of the once dominant industry mainstay. For WoW Classic, they get Lich King in 2023, it says, and that's it. The leak claims that there will be a new, as of yet untitled successor to World of Warcraft, aimed at harvesting some of the Final Fantasy market, but not much more on that topic. It also claims that there will be a World of Warcraft mobile project under Insight, a Hearthstone spin-off game that builds off of the Battleground modes, I think. And then, most importantly, it claims that Overwatch is believed to be unsalvageable, which has resulted in Overwatch 2 being completely cancelled, along with multiple smaller mobile games set in the universe. Lastly, there is the claim of a new IP, which will debut with gacha-style mechanics and be set in a unique fantasy-style universe. This is because their previous characters apparently no longer capture widespread interest and has been in development after multiple iterations since late last year. It goes on to talk about a Netflix series, StarCraft, and a few more items, but none of them are particularly interesting or relevant. That's the gist of it. Basically, Blizzard is being totally rebooted, as are quite a few of its current games. Overwatch 2 is cancelled, so is the future WoW development completely, and there's a new IP on the horizon which will copy Final Fantasy, a game that has stolen a ridiculous amount of market share from WoW in the past few months. So why am I so skeptical as to make a video? Number one, this post was made by a blank user profile created the very same day that it went up. This post is not coming from a corroborated previous leaker. It's not coming from someone who might have plausible insider information. It could be, but based on the post itself, I see no indication to that end. And most importantly, it was put on a random forum with very little possible traction unless it gets virally picked up. There are tons of journalists who are champing at the bit. Yes, champing, not chomping. Look it up. People constantly get this wrong. They are champing at the bit for any small piece of a story like this. So if it were real, this person could prove their credentials and offer the story to a major outlet. With swirling interest in absolutely everything that Blizzard does right now, there are outlets and specific journalists with an ability to cross-reference these types of things, and as much as I may rail against most of the current games industry reporting from outlets like Kotaku or Polygon or The Verge, there is no reason I can possibly think of, if it were true, not to find someone out there, YouTuber, journalist, streamer, whoever, to cover the story other than fear, maybe? But even then, it's hard to accept that this info would simultaneously be true and also get posted to MMO Champion by a throwaway account as its first debut. Second, this info is just too comprehensive. What you get from major companies in the way of leaked info almost always comes, and I speak from personal experience here, I've talked with, over the years, dozens of employees about things that I'm not supposed to know and they were not supposed to say. It almost always comes from independent contractors or salaried developers or technical engineers, something like that. Just someone who has a salary, kind of a base salary, and works low down in the company. Sometimes PR departments, or even once in a while a higher position like manager, something like that. But for one single person to know all of this info, that's a C-suite executive or some other power player at the company. That's someone who is in room for major decisions. All of them, literally all of them, and has forward-looking knowledge not just for current projects, but years down the line with horizontal clarity across all major franchises. That's probably less than 20 people at the company. Honestly, I might be able to count them on one hand. I might be wrong there just based on the sheer size of their operation, but that's a big deal. And literally no one who works as a developer or engineer or artist or what have you that is actually doing the work would ever be able to have this kind of information on so many of their upcoming decisions. Someone who has that knowledge, tying back into point number 1 now, is not posting it with throwaway accounts on MMO Champion. They are more likely a multi-millionaire executive at the company who, in my experience, unless under duress or facing a significant crisis of conscience, they do not leak things like this. Third, there's a bit too much focus on contemporary trends, which is not actually how a company as big as Activision Blizzard operates. While it might seem perfectly reasonable on the surface that they would borrow from Final Fantasy, right? That seems pretty normal. It doesn't make any sense at all when we start to consider development timelines. Yes, Final Fantasy has apparently stolen millions of players from World of Warcraft for a variety of separate reasons, literally in the past, month or 2 at the most, but there is no way in hell that the company will just hamstring what's left of the Warcraft audience, and the wheels of corporate decision-making, and especially actual development, do not move fast enough to take action on that kind of player shift. Think of it this way, just as a different way to phrase it, or kind of showcase it. Shadowlands, the previous WoW expansion, was the fastest selling PC game in history. Within the first day, it sold 3.7 million copies, and WoW is also a subscription. Companies like Activision Blizzard simply do not shut down the active development, not forever, that is, of a 16-year-old game that still makes history with new expansions, and has the fastest selling releases of any PC game ever. What we see right now is a short-term trend which might continue, but World of Warcraft is far too profitable to actually abandon completely. It may get dialed back for a time as the company weathers this impending kind of current storm, and to be honest, Blizzard might get rebranded and come out of this an entirely different company, but the way that I see it, World of Warcraft is not getting tabled when it is making $150 million on day 1 of the expansion releases. You can say that WoW is in decline, and that would probably be true. You can say that WoW has balancing issues, and that would definitely be true. You can say that it's dying in a colloquial sense, and okay, that would be fair, but what you can't do is pretend that the company responsible for, 14 years of annualized Call of Duty releases, with degrading quality for a lot of them, is going to take a game with obvious potential for the fastest PC launch day sales in history, and just stop. At least not by choice. Yet another reason why I think this must be a false leak is Overwatch 2. They still have all of their promo material for Overwatch 2 live, and they've announced extensive information on certain aspects, leading me to the assumption that they are just in too deep on that, especially with regards to community sentiment, to outright cancel it. It can get delayed, it can get scaled back, who knows, but I just can't wrap my brain around the idea of them turning to a flat-out cancellation. Sorry for the background sound, by the way, it just started to rain really hard right now. But anyways, moving on. According to techacake.com in June of 2021, there were 800,000 concurrent Overwatch players, and in 2020, the game crossed the 50 million player milestone. It is infinitely more profitable to maintain and monetize an existing audience, not just in gaming, in multiple separate industries. This is a well-proven fact. It is infinitely more profitable to maintain and monetize an existing group of players or customers than to try to cultivate a brand new one, a brand new group that is. So when this leak simultaneously discusses the severance of not one but 2 major revenue pipelines by Activision Blizzard and proposes completely new MMORPG projects as a functional alternative, I just can't buy it. Now, in terms of what might be true or what makes some sense, we have to play a bit of guesswork because I don't see any way that this comes from an actual top-level C-suite executive at the company and therefore has any shot of actually being true. However, Diablo Immortal coming to phones, then PC getting a port? Sure, it happens all the time with different games. Diablo getting a remake? Depends how well Diablo 2 goes, but maybe. Diablo 4 having 3 planned expansions? Maybe, possibly, who knows. Classic WoW ending with Lich King? Could be, but that's one of the prevailing sentiments, like it is, that I've seen in the community itself. People wanted Classic and Burning Crusade and then Lich King, but a pretty substantial number of people are of the mindset that Lich King was when the good times ended. They want that, but no more. Else you would just be redoing the retail experience, honestly, eventually just way behind. What's the point? So if this leak were to be correct, it's not even insider knowledge, it's just logical speculation on community trends. Blizzard getting a rebrand and firing a lot of people? Yeah, that I can see. It's a dumpster fire, and the optics right now are at rock bottom, but this leak is less of a Nostradamus post and more of a, I don't really know, a college kid, it feels like, trying to stir shit up and then say, look at the rumors I caused, ha ha ha, I made it to the news. It's entirely possible that with evolving technology benchmarks, a WoW mobile type experience could be in the works, but as with pretty much everything else in the post, you can say it, but that doesn't make it true. It's really easy to pile on against Blizzard right now, and that makes it easier than ever before to say outlandish things and have them be believed. Thankfully, many in the community on Reddit or other forum spaces that I've seen are trying to redirect people away from blind faith on it, but at least on YouTube, I haven't seen a whole lot of that. It might be older news, not old news, and it might be fun to go down the rabbit hole on conspiracies and leaks like this sometimes, once in a while, but after reading, rereading, and then researching the numbers behind this post, I just don't think it was something I could ever cover with anything other than skepticism. Fun to read, but a lot of it is extremely hard for me to believe, and wow, the rain is really coming down, so you can probably hear it a lot. Anyways, that's it. If you want to support, there are links down below. Odyssey, which is a YouTube platform alternative, and I'm working on an exclusive deal with them, so like 1 or 2 uploads, probably 2 per month, will be exclusive to Odyssey. Still free, nothing is behind a paywall, but there might be semi-exclusive content over there to just not have all my eggs in one basket. Another topic I want to work on, and this is just purely off script and speculation on my part, maybe, I don't know if I could actually do it though, right? Because then I would feel guilty and it might have harmful side effects. I want to create a post like this or a leak or something, and then engineer misinformation and watch it spread. And then do a video on exactly how it spread and like who picked it up and where it went. I think that would be kind of interesting, right? I would take all industry experience that I have and create something that's like fake and kind of shocking and interesting and just see if I can get it to like proliferate through Reddit and through major, news outlets and stuff like that. Might be an interesting thing to do, but whatever. That's the off-script part. Lastly, there's Locals. It's $5 a month for completely ad-free versions of all the content. So it is a paywall, but it's the same stuff you can get elsewhere, and just to support against demonetization or whatever and just help the channel. There's another gaming YouTuber to check out down in the description. Merchandise, social media, etc., etc. But I'll cut it there and stop rambling. As always, thank you all for watching, and have a nice night.